Hey y'all, this is Dave from OWR. This is our episode number 1. This is
Kyle. This is Toby.
And we're really just a couple friends and brothers that are just fans of IndyCar and Formula One and really just racing. It's something that brings us together, that gives us something fun to talk about, and we decided to start that on a podcast.
Sometimes we don't remember it every year, though.
Specifically the 500.
Yeah.
And that's
when we got started.
Yeah.
All this.
Yeah. Well, when you drive an RV to the race, you wear a wife beater and you start pounding the Bloody Marys
at 2 a.m.
At 2 a.m., you're probably not going to remember everything.
When you weren't a big drinker to begin with.
What's funny is I just just now remembered about the wife beater.
Oh, not me. I got the picture.
Yeah.
We will post that shit and share it because it is worth it.
It was memorable.
It's memorable. So anyway, we've all, I think, got into racing at different points and for different reasons. And so just to kind of share for us how we got here and why we love it and why we're talking about it, spending our time on the podcast, we figured we would just kind of knock that out. And for me, it started young. My stepdad and his dad, were big fans and would attend regularly. And when I don't even remember how old I am, which was terrible. They invited me, and it was an awesome day. I don't remember much about the race other than it was loud, and the cars went by so freaking fast. They were blurs, so I had no idea what the hell was going on.
If you had to guess, how long ago was it?
I mean, I was probably 12-ish.
Yeah.
28 years ago-ish. So, and we had front row seats, which for racing sounds really cool until you get there and you're like, this isn't the best seats, but
You're like,
and
is that how you go?
to tell you how excited and into it I was, I fell asleep front row, no headphones. So that was a special skill that Toby mastered at the last. Literally mastered laying across the bench, flat out, sleeping, and I literally had to wake him up because people were arriving to their seat and were like, "Get the hell out!"
That's after we found him.
Yes, and I had to prop his arm in a way that kept him from rolling off the bleacher, which was funny. But anyway, so then we went for a long break. Grandpa, Papa died, and so Dad stopped going. And really close to 10 years ago, maybe 8, 9, somewhere between 8 and 10 years ago, we started going again. And it became an annual thing, and kind of sucked these two in. And Kyle's come to love it just like we have, if not more. And so
I would say more.
Really excited.
I dug into it quick.
We're really excited about just sharing some of that and on the show as we go. We hope to have a weekly show and love to have guests on to talk about things that our fans are interested in. But we're gonna have a lot of fun.
Isn't it Connor Daly's birthday?
Today's Connor Daly's birthday. Happy birthday, Connor. Hope you get a ride soon.
This is his koozie.
There's your koozie. So we're big fans.
Yeah.
But what about you, Kyle? What got you into the sport?
I mean, honestly, that's probably the first sport I remember in our house. Was Dad? Dad always watched it. Matter of fact, Danny, our younger brother, he's my twin. We were born in 1986. So Dad named him Danny after Danny Sullivan, after the 1985 spinning win.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But I never liked it growing up. Funny story. So one day I was little, and I was upset Danny was named after somebody. I asked my dad, "It's like, who am I named after?" And he pointed a picture of Rick Mears, and he said, "You're named after him." And even as a kid, I was like, that makes no sense whatsoever. But so anyways, I wasn't really named after anybody then.
I'm gonna start calling you Rick.
Hey, that'd be a compliment.
That's awesome.
But I never really liked it. I remember as a kid seeing IndyCar on TV and seeing names like Paul Tracy, Michael Andretti, but I was never interested in it. And matter of fact, once you all started going again, I always said I didn't want to go.
I remember.
Yeah. I had no interest in it whatsoever. What year did I end up going?
It was 3 years ago now, wasn't it? Have you been once or twice?
Just once.
Yeah, so it's 3 years ago because then we took a year off when Shep was born, and then this year got jacked up because of COVID.
Yeah, it was 2018. So I through other podcasts I listened to, I was made aware of Connor Daly, and I was like, hold up, these drivers aren't all like uppity like I always thought they were.
Like Formula One.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. But then also, same time, I matured a little bit and was like, Dad's getting older. I never went to his sport before. And I was like, I'm going to regret it one day.
Mm.
So 2018, I said, okay, I'm going. I'm going with you guys. And I loved it. Fell in love with it. Matter of fact, since that Indy 500, I've never missed a race on TV or actually going to the track.
Yeah.
I dug into it.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed going to that race, and it's always been a lot of fun. But I never really got into the sport that much. Not that I don't like auto racing. I always liked NASCAR and auto racing in general. But I never really focused on open wheel racing. And just over the last probably 2 or 3 weeks, I've watched probably 5 or 6 races, and I'm thinking this is pretty cool. That race last week in Abu Dhabi, and I'm like, that place is amazing.
If you thought that was a cool race, though, you're going to really love IndyCar.
No, that wasn't a great race, but the place itself was cool. Just imagine that place being packed and people on the water watching the race in their boats and things like that. I'm like, that's a different environment than you just don't see in racing.
Yeah. Yeah, and with F1, I don't think you talked about F1 much. We're pretty diehard fans of IndyCar, at least David and I are. F1, we kind of just got into the last couple of years with the Netflix series Drive to Survive. Just like most Americans got into F1 after that. I guess reality TV documentary, whatever you want to call it.
I think it's cool just because you got to know the drivers and the teams and the stories behind it, which is something that Indy does really well.
That's why I love IndyCar, because the fan interaction is unbelievable. F1 don't really have that, but
not here anyway. Maybe it's like that over there, but we don't feel it.
Yeah, but now with Netflix, we know who's driving the car. Now. We know their personalities a little bit better. But I'm a very, very amateur fan of F1.
Yeah, me too. I enjoy it.
Yeah,
that's why I'm a bigger fan of Max Verstappen than you.
Max is my favorite F1 driver, but I don't know anything about him. I actually just watched my first F1 race this year. But
so right now, IndyCar's in the off season.
Both of them are now.
So
and it's called silly season.
Silly season.
Yeah.
What's the background there?
Just so much movement between drivers and cars and team owners and all that. Just they call it silly season because you have no idea who's going to land where, for the most part.
So tell me a little bit about that, because I have no idea what you're talking about. So what's going to happen this offseason that would cause it to be silly?
Well, so every offseason, these, especially IndyCar contracts, they can be so short. They can be one season, and then the team owner goes with another driver. So after the last race, even before the last race.
Well, even those deals can be only for certain types of cars. Like they could be they get a road course contract for the season. Someone else drives the ovals or whatever.
So these drivers that, the premier drivers, they don't have to worry about too much, but the drivers that aren't premier, that are good drivers, but they have to bring millions of dollars to get a seat to drive. So they have to start trying to raise money. They have to talk to team owners. They got to figure out where they're going to go next season. And we're in the middle of it right now.
There's one announcement today.
Yeah. Dalton Kellett.
Yeah.
Which last year he was with Foyt. Last year he was a rookie and only raced a partial season. But
how'd he do? I don't remember.
Not well.
No.
He didn't have a really good reputation at Indy Lights, and he's driving for Foyt, so
it's not a real competitive team.
No, probably they're pretty much the Williams of IndyCar.
Okay. You see, Sir Williams was hospitalized today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Well, he drove for Williams, didn't he?
I have no idea. I know he's a legendary team owner of Williams.
I can't remember if he drove or not.
Sir
Williams. There's a Williams.
He's not even.
Oh, yeah.
There's a documentary on Williams also on
Netflix
or Amazon Prime. I can't remember which I watched, but I want to say he drove, but I don't know that for sure.
I have no idea.
But anyway, he was sick, but other story, back to IndyCar.
Yeah.
So that's why it's silly season, because you really don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of movement every year, and this year's no different.
And there's a lot of movement, and even more, there's a lot of rumors.
Yeah.
You have no idea what's true until it's announced.
Well, and crazy thing is, like all sports, I guess, and business in general, is how much money talks. Because two of the guys that we really like to follow and root for, Connor Daly and James Hinchcliffe, neither one of them are have a seat yet announced.
Not announced.
But there's Will Power.
Yeah, he's a Penske.
There you go. That's all you need to know.
So, that's one thing we're on the edge of our seats for, kind of until he's really watching. I think I scroll Twitter every morning, every day, kind of looking for updates. But
and of course, it's rumored that Hinch, it's pretty much already settled, just not announced yet that he's going to be driving the 88 car of Andretti.
Yeah. Will be a Genesis.
That's the rumor.
Yeah, cool.
So what was the tweet that you got from Mario?
Oh, so Mario posted a picture of his Christmas tree, wishing everybody happy or Merry Christmas, and said, "Everybody else send me your Christmas tree decorations." So I took a quick picture of my son and the Christmas tree and sent it to him, and he responded back.
That's cool.
And that's one thing we were saying with IndyCar, just the fan interaction is unbelievable.
From like the legend.
Yeah, the one of the goats of IndyCar. I mean,
see that I believe that open wheel racing in general is gaining popularity in the United States.
Yeah.
NASCAR for a long time was just the pinnacle of all auto racing, and they didn't really care about anything else.
Yeah.
But it seems like that fanship is dropping, and folks are getting more into IndyCar because one, the races, it looks like they're going to smash into each other and tumble over each other every single time they go around a curve. And I'm like, I was watching the race 2 weeks ago, and you said that that's not normally what F1's
in
about.
Bahrain, it was a very exciting race, a lot of passing,
but
unlike Abu Dhabi.
I literally thought they were going to crash every race, and you're watching it, and I was really hooked that entire race.
It's definitely a different style of racing. I think
Yeah.
NASCAR's done such a good job on making their cars extremely safe. It's almost like there's no fear.
Yeah, there's not too much threat.
And they bunch them up, which is fun for TV. I know fans like it, but it's just with the stages and so many competition cautions, it's just very different than open wheel and the way IndyCar or Formula One run.
Yeah, not counting this COVID year because ratings are all over the place. But I mean, the last 5 years, IndyCar's been gaining fans, as NASCAR is going the opposite direction. They're losing fans. So, like I say, can't really count this year because how crazy the year was. But I mean, IndyCar.
What's the best race that you've been to? Of course, the Indy 500 is always going to be a pinnacle. But if you were just going to buy a ticket to one race, what was the most fun race you get to watch?
The last 2 years, my dad and I, you went this year, was the St. Louis race, Gateway or Worldwide Technology Raceway. Like Indy 500 is the pinnacle. I mean, 300,000 fans there, just the environment. It's unbelievable. The winner, it changes their life forever. But St. Louis, it's a small track. What is it, 1.25 miles, I think?
Sounds right.
Yeah, I think it is. And we sit up a little bit high in the stands, right on the start-finish line. And you can literally follow the cars
all the way around.
All the way around the track.
Which is so much different than what we're used to at Indy. Because where we sit at Indy, we really just see.
Yeah, we see them come off turn 4, go down the straight.
Barely, really.
Yeah. Well, yeah, from a distance, you start seeing them from turn 4, go down the straight, see them go into turn 1, and we don't see them again.
Then you watch the monitor.
Exactly. So St. Louis is just so different. It doesn't have the prestige of IMS and the 500, but I love going to that race every year.
And I'm a big road course fan. I just like road course racing. And so I'm really looking forward to going down to Nashville this year. Like we live in Southern Indiana, so we're Indiana guys anyway. And so the 500 is kind of at heart. It's the thing in Indiana in a big way. And so it's just kind of part of being a Hoosier, if you will.
Sure.
But Nashville's only 3 hours away. And so it feels like a local race too. And it's just such a cool city. And
it's such a cool course too.
Oh, the course looks awesome. Going across the bridge, like being through downtown, because there's so much to do in downtown Nashville anyway. So I'm stoked. I can't wait for that weekend.
Yeah, and those are you going to Nashville with us?
I will, yeah.
Oh,
you get tickets, yeah.
Yeah, they're not for sale yet. But so the 2 races that's guaranteed we're going to this year, we already got tickets for the 500, but is the Nashville GP. We may. My dad and I, you may want to go to the Indianapolis GP, and I think that's a weekend with NASCAR, so I'm kind of bummed about that.
I mean,
yes. But
so, what are you going to do now that the seasons are over until the season begins?
Check my Twitter about 45 times a day, waiting for Connor Daly announce.
Besides doing this,
Yeah, besides this.
Twitter, Instagram,
Yeah.
both have good stuff.
Follow everybody on social media and just wait. But luckily, it's a short off season because of COVID. They raced what the last race was late October. So I mean, the first race is in March, St. Pete. So,
I may try to wrap it with a kid's spring break trip down to St. Pete. So we'll see.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know what Long Beach is in April. That's a little bit of a question mark since California. If they'll have the race, but they already playing contingencies to have an end of season if they can't race in April. But yeah, I mean, honestly, luckily with IndyCar, the fan interaction's so great that you can still keep up with everybody in the off season. So just wait.
Yeah. So the driver movement you pay attention to.
Yeah.
There's still some seats to be filled in Formula One, so you can kind of keep track of that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to keep up on, but for us, at least for the show, I think telling some stories of past races is something we'll fill some of these weeks with.
Maybe we try to get Dad on here and talk about.
Oh yeah.
I think he was at the 85 spin and win.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know when his dad and our father started going, but they have decades of races to talk about.
Oh yeah.
And Dad told me once he stopped going the 500 when my grandpa he went off to the bathroom and he didn't see him for the rest of the race. So he's like, oh, he might be too old to go now. So that's why my dad stopped until.
That happened to us too, but there's totally different reasons why we didn't see him again.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I can't wait to tell that story. That was a fun day.
Yeah, when we're dead in the off season, we'll bring up the 2018 Indy 500 and tell the story.
Still a little disappointed in you though.
So
do you want to walk through each kind of the teams and kind of highlight any change?
Before we do that, so this Indy 500, 2021 Indy 500 is going to have 9 previous winners starting on the starting grid. It's the most since like 96 or 92. It's the most previous winners for 20, 30 years. So I was going to ask you all if y'all can come up with those 9 previous winners that's going to be starting this year.
Will Power.
Correct.
Dixon.
Correct.
Tony Kanaan.
Yep.
Hinchcliffe?
No.
He's not one?
No. He got pole, but he's never won.
I'm terrible, dude.
Who's the
we got 3 so far. You haven't named one of our favorite drivers.
Oh, Alexander Rossi, of course. Who is my favorite.
You haven't named who won it this year.
Oh, Sato. Who else?
We have a 3-time winner.
Is Helio going to race?
Yeah.
Helio's racing. Oh, Montoya.
Yeah.
All right, I've got 7.
One's Rossi's teammate.
You're cheating though. So I mean,
I wrote this down out of memory.
He would know. He would know it. One's an Andretti teammate.
Yeah. Some call him Captain America.
Oh, Joseph Newt. No, that's no. He reminds me of Captain America though.
Newgarden.
Yeah.
He's good, but he's the only Penske that hasn't won an Indy 500.
Yeah.
Well, not now. There's another Penske.
Dang it! Why am I struggling?
RHR.
Ryan Hunter Ray. I was at that race.
Yeah.
That's why I bought one of the little cars.
And then one of Dad's favorites.
AJ Foyt.
He won it 4 times, but he's not starting this time since he's about as big as an Indy car.
That's me.
And he's in his late 80s or 90s.
He can do it.
Well, I don't know. Who's the name?
He often acts like Ricky Bobby's competitor.
Simon Pagino?
Yeah. So that's the 9. I think they said before that it was like 1992 or 96 where
that's cool.
10 started.
And some good young guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, listen, a lot of people say it's make or break year for Joseph Newgarden. He's got to get his Indy 500s wins because that's the only thing he's missing off his resume.
He's still young.
Yeah, but he's Penske. That's all Penske cares about.
I know, but I mean, unless they're going to cut him for not winning.
No. So we'll get into who has a seat this year in IndyCar and who's questionable. And there's a team that we have no idea who's going to have a seat. But y'all need to help me pitch in. So we'll just go by teams.
Okay.
So we got Penske first. Penske's going to field 4 cars, which is one more than they have in years past.
Okay.
So we already discussed some of them. We got Simon Pagenaud, Will Power,
Yep.
Joseph Newgarden.
Yep.
And then they got a new Australian, Scott McLaughlin.
Oh, yeah. I'm eager to see how he does. Supercar champ, good driver.
Yeah, it's unusual for Penske to have a rookie.
He showed up in St. Pete, right? He drove in St. Pete.
Yeah.
He wrecked early.
He wrecked early, but he was showing progress. But Penske must think the world of him because Penske doesn't usually
do that.
Hire rookies. And then so the next great team is Chip Ganassi, which they're also fielding 4 cars, which is more than usual. 4 cars and 5 drivers. So obviously, my generation's GOAT is Scott Dixon. They signed Alex Palou from Dale Coyne. He's going to be racing in the 10 car. Marcus Ericsson's coming back. And then the 4th car, which has made all the news, is who? He's a NASCAR legend.
I already said AG40.
He's not a NASCAR legend. Jimmy Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy Johnson's coming for the road.
I'm excited about that.
So he's just going to be part-time?
He's doing the road courses, so that's all of –
people are scared to drive the ovals in India.
Yeah. That's all of there's 4 ovals this year. Well, 4 oval races.
You think Jimmy Johnson's scared to drive ovals?
Yeah. His wife won't let him. Says he's 45 years old. He's not going to risk his life like that. But so anyways, so to race the ovals in his car, they hired TK again, Tony Kanaan, previous Indy 500 winner, fan favorite.
Oh, I love TK. I mean, as a 2-time Ironman and as he's a fellow triathlete Ironman, like for what I just kind of connect with him. So and they love him in Indy. I'm sure they love him everywhere.
Yeah, he's been a fan favorite for years.
But liking him for the triathlon stuff, and then going to the race and hearing the crowd, like every time he'd come by, there's a cheer, especially if he took a lead or made passes. Yeah. So he was fun to root for. So
I'm shocked Jimmy Johnson's not even going to do the 500, so TK's going to be driving his what was his NASCAR number? 48. That's what his IndyCar number 2. He's going to be driving the 48 car for Jimmy Johnson. So then you got Andretti's almost half a dozen cars. But as of right now, there's only 2 confirmed seats, which is Rossi and Brian Herta. Brian Herta actually just moved to the 26 car, which apparently, like his dad's Brian Herta. He's used to race IndyCar. That used to be his number in IMSA or something.
I heard that.
So there's a little bit of thing. But so rumor is Ryan Hunter-Reay's coming back. There's a little bit of a question mark with DHL, the sponsor, if they were going to come back. And rumor is they are, and it's going to be Ryan Hunter-Reay coming back to Andretti. They haven't announced Marco Andretti yet, but he's partial owner of his own car. Yeah. So sure, he's going to come back. And then our big guy, the 5th car that they haven't announced.
Come on, Hinch.
All the rumors say Hinch is coming to Andretti. He raced with them after Zach Beach quit or got let go last season.
Yeah.
But we're just eagerly waiting.
Well, and with him comes that new sponsor, Genesis from last year, who I think they really jumped in with a race, a car.
Yeah. They seemed excited last year. Hopefully, they continue the sponsorship and
agree. One of their biggest offices in Indy, I think. I heard.
Yeah, so we're eagerly waiting for that. The next team, they had huge improvements last year. Is Arrow, Schmidt, McLaren. Pato O'Ward's coming back. He's an up and comer, and he really was impressive last year. And they got Felix Rosenquist, who used to race for Chip Ganassi, to come to McLaren. So that's the 2 seats.
Who raced IMSA season last year, didn't he?
Felix?
Didn't he?
No, no, he's full-time Chip Ganassi.
Last year?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The last 2 years.
Okay.
And he won his first race.
Who was I thinking? Who's the Indy guy who raced IMSA full-time this past season? Does somebody you liked? I don't remember.
I'm not sure.
I cannot think of his name. I'll find it.
We'll be Google searching that one.
Yeah.
And then for Arrow for the 500, they hired Pablo Montoya to come back for a 3rd car at Arrow for Indy 500.
Mm-hmm.
And then my favorite team currently.
That's your dad's favorite driver, right?
Who?
Juan Pablo.
No, they never liked him. Juan Paulo, he came from the F1 world. I don't know much about him.
They love Helio.
He was a good NASCAR driver too, though.
Pablo Montoya. I just got into the sport a couple years ago. I'm not the history guy, but yeah, Dad said he always seemed. I kind of said it earlier, a little uppity coming from the F1 world. Going to IndyCar. Did you find out that IMSA driver?
No, I'm having some phone technical difficulties.
I mean, a number of IndyCar drivers raced.
Yeah, but
IMSA
this guy was
endurance
like
races.
full-time IMSA last year because he didn't have a drive.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember. So going through the list of the 25 seats that are most likely going to be filled this year.
Okay.
Is we'll go through Ed Carpenter, my favorite team, which they re-signed the rookie Rinus VeeKay, who showed a lot of talent last year after his first oval in Texas where he wrecked. Ed Carpenter already confirmed he's doing the ovals, and my favorite driver hasn't confirmed yet, and I'm really hoping we hear this week that he's coming back to Ed Carpenter. Ed Carpenter said that he wants
For the road.
Well, so it's going to depend on how much Air Force wants to spend.
So they add a car.
Yeah. What the team owner's hoping, Ed Carpenter, what he's hoping is they bring enough money for Connor to have a full-time ride, and Ed will just drive a third car for the ovals. But if Air Force doesn't spend the money, he'll go back to the road and just do a partial season again.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I'm really hoping Connor gets a full-time ride this year with one team.
Because he was with – is Carlton going to have a team next year?
Is who?
The other team.
Carlin, yeah.
Yeah, Carlin.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a possibility also, is splitting the Carlin car with Max Chilton and driving ovals.
Yeah.
But just go through this quick because I feel like we're talking about it too long. Ray Hall's got two drivers coming back, the two that drove last year, Sato and Graham Ray Hall. What was just announced today is Foyt. They have Seabass, Sebastian Bourdais coming back, I think, in the 14 car.
Well, that's how I think I was talking about. Did he drive a lot of IMSA last year?
I know he drove some. I don't know if he did. I don't think he did the full season. Okay. I'm not sure.
Okay. I just saw his name a lot on IMSA races.
And before they got Dalton Kellett coming back, but also a full-time ride this year. Meyer Shank is coming back, which showed huge improvements last year. They're coming back with Jack Harvey, the Brits, and they have Helio racing 6 races for them. And that's kind of the progress they did with their first car to get full-time with them.
Yeah.
Carlin, you got Max Chilton coming back. That's not confirmed, but everybody says that's what's happening. He refuses to drive the ovals for safety concern.
Which one?
Max Chilton.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he came flat out and said it last year.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But so Connor Daly's been filling in for Carlin to do the ovals, and he won pole last year in Iowa. He did great. He did better with Carlin at the ovals than he did at Ed Carpenter doing the road. So that's still up in the air too. And the big question mark in IndyCar is Dale Coyne Racing. Their driver that we're not a big fan of, Santino Ferrucci. It sounds like he's going to –
might be my new favorite driver.
He's going to Xfinity for 20 races. So they're thinking he won't be at Dale Coyne, so they have no idea who's coming. Rumor could be Fittipaldi do that and also stay backup driver for Haas. Rumor is possibly Romain Grosjean, or however you say his name, if he wants to come to IndyCar. Yeah. But those two drivers are totally up in the air. So that's what keeps us entertained at silly season is who's going where.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun. And having Kyle get so into it, it helped keep me updated.
Yeah, I'm a Seahawks fan, but I mean, I live and breathe IndyCar anymore. I'm totally consumed by it. But so that being said, I'm no journalist. I'm no professional. I'm going to make mistakes.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm hoping that.
And we're going to try to make fun of those mistakes.
I expect that. Carlin also might field a second car, which they tried to do last year. They did it successfully 2 years ago. But rumor is if they field a second car, hopefully Charlie Kimball can bring enough money to have a second car.
That's cool.
But Carlin, they completely missed the 500 in 2018. So that really destroyed their program. So they're trying to financially recover from that still.
Cool. So hopefully next week when we chat, we'll have some news.
Yeah,
on a
some
couple of
better
those,
news than Dalton Keller.
because I mean, you named several teams and cars
Yeah.
that have openings, so that'd be cool to.
Yeah, a lot
keep
of them,
track
you know, it's strongly rumored. We know where they're going, but like I said, with like Bill Coyne, you have no idea.
Yeah.
They said a lot of times they announce drivers that nobody in America knows. It's
Yeah.
coming from the F2 world, FE,
Yeah.
Formula E, or whatever world. So that's always kind of keeping the fans on their toes.
You know, we'll in between episodes, of course, we try to stay active on Twitter. So OWR, and we'll try to share news as we get it. So if you want to follow our Twitter handle, we'll do our best. You know, we know there's a lot of different area places. There's other podcasts that are really good shows.
Oh, sure.
I know you listen to. There's other folks on Twitter that share stuff that are funny.
And you're going to be able to listen to this podcast on all the platforms. So anybody who listens to the podcast can get it on Apple and Spotify and everybody else out there.
Yeah. And once you listen to it, write us on Twitter. Tell us our mistakes. Tell us what you want us to talk about.
You can even see our ugly mugs on YouTube.
Yeah, that's scary.
Mm-hmm. Especially here.
Yep, true. So anyway, I think that we'll wrap that up with the IndyCar piece for the week. And just trying to transition to Formula One, since they just wrapped up the season last week. It felt long, which is weird.
The race?
The season.
Oh, yeah.
Given how many races they were able to get in and COVID, and they take oftentimes a week off in between, and so it's it's different, because they travel. But the money spent and the power those cars produce, and
that's what really gets me like an F1. Is Indy cars are technically faster; they go faster on the ovals. But F1 they're cutting edge on technology.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of faults with F1, but they're cutting edge, and what they can pull off every year, every race is pretty impressive.
It is, and some of the races that do have more of a competitive feel is typically when it's rainy, or you've got,
or the Mercedes are out,
or you got the top guy's wrecked, or the top guy gets COVID. Unfortunately for him,
and unfortunately, those were the highlights of the season. Those races where Mercedes made a mistake, or and we got Pierre Gasly or Chico winning races, which just, if Mercedes were top of their game, if Red Bull was top of the game, typically you don't see them on the podium even.
Well, you mentioned his name, Roman Grosjean, last. That fiery crash. I remember. I know you were working, but I was watching that, and my whole family was in the living room.
Yeah,
and I remember texting you, being like, somebody might have just died, like this, and then you see him climbing out of the flames like a freaking movie.
I've never seen anything like it.
I have never seen anything like it. I'm so thankful that he's alive, but it was absolutely crazy for TV. It shook the drivers.
Well, that's what, like I said, I've only been in Indy for a few years now, but when Robert Wickens had his wreck at was it Sonoma?
I thought it was Las Vegas.
No, they haven't raced in Las Vegas for I don't think they've raced in Las Vegas since Dan Williams.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that's you.
But when Robert Wickens had his horrible wreck, and he's been fighting to get back into a car, and anybody that's been watching racing long enough, they know that feeling whenever they're watching a race. You can tell by the announcers and by how they're not re-showing the race or the crash. Something went bad. And just that moment, it always terrifies me. It's kind of eerie to watch.
Oh yeah. Well, and even with this race and Formula One race, when Grosjean crashed, like, they did not show the replay for a while.
No.
And so
not until he was already into an ambulance.
I told Kristen, I was like, something bad. This is bad.
Yeah.
It was similar to this race. This year had two.
Pocono. It was Pocono where Robert Wickens wrecked.
Well, this race had two. You had the very first race in the NASCAR season, I think, with 6 car in Daytona.
I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. I can't think of his name. I am no NASCAR fan. I don't enjoy NASCAR at all.
I enjoy it all. Ryan Newman.
Yeah.
That car literally went into his head.
Yeah.
And like I told Chris, I was like, we literally, God just died on TV. And they brought the screens out. I'm like, and they took forever to share anything on that.
Well,
that was scary.
Not trying to sound heartless. I know a lot of fans were mad at NASCAR because they feel like they played up the urgency and
how bad it was,
how bad it could have been. Because apparently he was talking in the car. He was talking on the way to the hospital.
Okay.
But they put up those screens. They didn't watch it. I mean, unfortunately, bad wrecks brings ratings. And like I said, I'm not a fan of NASCAR. Apologize if I sound heartless, but there's a lot of people's opinions that they kind of played that up to make it make people worry more than they needed to.
I can see that. Anyway, so the Formula One season, it's over. Now there's a few seats.
One big seat.
Well, Hamilton hadn't even re-signed.
But everybody knows he's going to re-sign.
But it was really interesting knowing that he hasn't signed and seeing Russell get in that car and basically damn near win the race.
It's in a lot of drama to the F1 world.
That was a crazy way to.
Here are the empty seats if you want to go through them.
Yeah, there's only a couple. You've got Red Bull with Albon's seat potentially open.
Hopefully going to Perez.
Hope maybe. Yeah, that's the rumor. That's the rumor that he's going to Perez, and then you've got what is that? Aston Martin.
Yeah, it's Racing Point.
No.
Aston Martin.
Well, no, that's filled by Stroll and Vettel now.
Yeah, Racing Point's going to be called Aston Martin.
Yeah. I was thinking the Toro Rosso team with Gasly is the only seat, and then with one open. So that's all they have really left. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. What did you think of your first experience with Formula One the last couple of weeks?
I really, like I said, that race that I watched the very first time, it was one of the ones that was very exciting. So Kyle was like, you just don't get used to that.
Yeah.
But it seemed, especially on the road courses and a lot of turns and everything like that, when they come hard into they're breaking really hard into those turns, you're like, oh my gosh, he's about to smash into him. And I'm like, how do they not bump wheels or something? They just lose all control, but they don't.
Yeah.
So it just shows you how good those drivers really are. I mean, anybody in a race car period is an amazing driver, but you have to be special to be willing to do what they're doing too.
Yeah. Well, just the ability of the driver, but also the cars, like those things are just amazing. And then, Mercedes this year with the tires that came were different, and like the adjustable steering wheel, like that. There's so much going on in these cars, and when you watch them like literally going 200 mile an hour down this straightaway and adjusted settings on their steering wheel with different dials, that is, and that's what Lewis said. One of the he didn't qualify super high this week, and you wonder how much there is to it. But I remember in practice, like he got on the radio and was like, "This is not the car that I left."
I heard that. Yeah. That's what a lot of drivers they admit they don't know what every button on the steering wheel does.
I don't see how they could. Yeah. Especially they talk about the G's they pull in those cars,
well, especially on road courses when you have limited straights.
Yeah,
I mean, it's crazy to think about.
It really is crazy. And like the other thing to me about Formula One is you got one stop strategies most of the time.
Yeah,
sometimes two, and they're 2.5 seconds.
Yeah,
they're tires and out.
If what Red Bull's a lot of times under 2 seconds.
Yeah. That's just amazing to me.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Like I said, a lot of people compare F1 and IndyCar and NASCAR together, and all of them have different aspects that people like and people don't like. Even the biggest F1 fans say how boring most of those races are. Yeah. But at the same time, you got IndyCar, which it's super competitive, but all the cars are practically the same.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, there were a couple boring races this year in Indy.
Sure, any
I remember even making some comments, like on Twitter, like that was a boring race. Like, they got in single file line. There was because they couldn't.
Texas
was that when they put the compound on the track?
Put a compound for the
NASCAR.
Yeah,
and they couldn't pass.
Nope. It was a 1-lane race.
Oh, that was boring.
It was boring, and hopefully they're going to fix that this year because they got 2 races at Texas this year.
Yeah,
but that was by far a boring race.
Well, that's the weird thing about Formula One is it's boring from like who's going to win perspective, but the mid pack,
it is. It like can be exciting.
That's where the race happens. I mean, you end up watching for the 4, 5, 6 guys more than the top 3,
and that's honestly the only reason that kept me watching Abu Dhabi is because there was 3 teams that were close to winning the 3rd place in the contractors championship. McLaren ended up winning, but they say there's millions of dollars that's the difference of 3rd and 4th and 5th. So to me, a lot of times F1 it's more about the contractor championship than the drivers.
Yeah. Oh, there's some guys that are really fun to get behind, like Daniel Ricciardo. Like, he's just a fun dude.
Yeah, he's got a big personality.
Yeah, I know he was I know he took the Grozier coverage a little more sensitive than I think that what a lot of folks did, but that's his thing. But he, you see what he does off the track and these motorcycles and his fun stuff. He's funny and he's fun to get behind. And those, the thing about sport is that personalities help drive some of that. You can either love the personality or you can hate it, but it's better than nothing.
Exactly, and that's why like Santino Ferrucci, I never pulled for him. I just don't like him. I think if I sat down with him, I wouldn't even like him. But I wanted him in IndyCar because you have to have your drivers you don't like. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, kind of in IndyCar, I pull for most of the drivers. There's only 2 or 3 drivers that I don't want to win. Mm-hmm. So I needed him in IndyCar to have that villain. Yeah. And now it looks like he's leaving. Maybe he had something to do with the paddock that none of the other drivers liked him. I don't know, but yeah, you need those personalities. You need the personalities you like and the ones you don't like to keep the sport interesting.
Yeah, I agree. So I know we jump back and forth. We talk more about it because we like it more. Formula One's in their own silly season. Sure. They'll get back going in March, and look forward to talking about each of those races each week. I know this last week there's not a ton to talk about.
No, and it'd be like that for most of this off season. I mean, we kind of went through it, but there's 5-6 cars in IndyCar, and there's you went through F1. There's 3-4 cars available or seats available in F1. So eagerly waiting to hear that.
2 seats if you don't count Hamilton's. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. So we're eager to get news on what's going to happen next year, but in the off season, there's sometimes it'll be hard to talk about some things.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about racing growing up, and my dad and grandpa on the other side was big into local racing. Yeah, and so I grew up going to Brownstown and Salem Speedway.
Are those on dirt tracks or?
So there's some dirt. I mean, Indiana's just got kind of the heartland for racing and some of
rich history. North Carolina, just the Midwest area.
Yeah, and seeing some of the late models was always something my grandpa liked. It was fun, but every now and then we get to go to one of the sprint cars, or what they call the midgets or whatever. Yeah. With either you'd have the wing on top or you wouldn't. Now, that's open wheel, but those guys, that's fun. Oh, it's crazy. Sideways through those turns. I know Connor's even raced some of those. Yeah. And some of these guys do, and they go to the Chili Bowl.
Yeah, Kyle Larson. When he got kicked out of NASCAR, he was
dominated.
Yeah, dominated in that midget series.
Well, that's the
World of Outlaws. I think
World of Outlaws. Man, those cars are fun, and being able to get up and watch those, and then then the local stuff, the small track, going to some figure 8 races. Yeah, that's not real.
See, that's
not racing, but damn, you would talk about some exciting stuff, especially as a kid. Yeah, with every single pass through the intersection, you're like.
And that's horse drama is always fun to do.
I've never been to my first race I've ever been to was 2018 IMS 500. So
Louisville Motors.
No.
Well,
I haven't. No,
we have to go.
So my dad it was IndyCar and nothing.
Well, so
that's all he would watch.
That's all that. That's all.
So I wasn't. He wasn't going to tracks, and I would love to start going.
Yeah,
but.
Yeah, Sports Drome right here in Clarksville, Indiana. They have figure 8s. They do the fun stuff, but they also have some standard type racing.
Yeah.
One of the local kart race series. They go there and race their karts too.
Do they?
Yeah, but then the Louisville Motor Speedway, where we went most weekends with my dad, is where I really got into the racing, and that's the same guys that own that who started Kentucky Speedway.
Okay,
and so Louisville Motor Speedway, I think, shut down. It's all. They only do the big,
I haven't heard of it. Yeah, I've driven the Kentucky Speedway in an IndyCar, the Mario and Jody Experience. I bought a package for my dad and I for my dad's birthday, and that was one heck of an experience. We might talk about that in the dead of the off season.
I think we'll even throw some IMSA in at times. I really enjoy IMSA racing.
That actually had the biggest jump in ratings this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it like 20 points or something like that.
I mean, I enjoy it. It's a good race. It's weird with so many classes on there,
and especially
so many IndyCar drivers coming down.
Yeah, especially the IMSA endurance races, the Daytonas,
especially this year,
Le Mans, every year.
with like Rossi's in that stack team this year for the Rolex 24. It's
for
gonna
the Taylor.
It's gonna be
Taylor
fun.
Racing. Yeah, so many IndyCar drivers, and I've heard a couple NASCAR even, but so many IndyCar drivers fill in the IMSA races for the endurance.
Yeah.
So there's kind of some crossover with our IndyCar drivers racing IMSA, and those are the races I typically watch. So we'll definitely talk about those endurance races.
That's gonna be awesome. Well, I think you want to wrap it for the week.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, great. Hey, this has been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys coming over and
Go through where they can find us.
yeah. So Open Wheels Racing is on Twitter. OWR can also be found. We're going to post these videos on YouTube, share them on every channel that we can, and post the audio on all the podcast feeds. So, we're just
And please interact with us on social media, especially this off season when these stuff to talk about. Help us out.
Yeah, for sure.
What's the Gmail account?
openwheelsracing.gmail.com.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep. Sounds
And
good.
what's your address, Toby? Where can we find you?
My house.
Anyway.
My house.